Hello and welcome to another edition of the ABCs of CPD and CFD. My name is Napoleon Bell and I'm the Executive Director with the City of Columbus Community Relations Commission, bringing you another edition of why police officers and firefighters do what they do. There's so many questions that come in from off the street and over the phone line and even through the internet about wondering why police officers and firefighters do what they do. So we're here to answer those questions. And so you can do that if you want to call in and ask a question for this next hour. You can do that by calling 645-6557. That's 645-6557. And you can also check us out on the internet. All you got to do is friend me, Nap Bell. That's N-A-P-B-E-L-L. You can ask your questions there also. We'll make sure we get those asked for you during this segment and or the next segment. So we look forward to hearing from you with our program. Now, we got a great program, as always. And so, first of all, during this segment, it's EMS week. And so we're going to be talking about that on this segment. And then our second segment, we're going to be talking about the Citizens Police Academy as someone who's deeply involved in that police academy and going through the paces with the police. But first of all, let me introduce our guest. To my left, as always, is Deputy Chief Blackwell. I'd like to welcome you back to the show as the co-host, I guess, or the tri-host, however we call it.
I try to take a month off here and there, but
we were missing you. We were wondering what happened to you. Take a sabbatical.
Rating slip. Now
Yeah,
come back.
Right. They dropped
back.
dramatically, so we're
Right.
glad to have you back. And next to him, to get the ratings back up,
That's right, yeah.
Is Dr. David Kessick. He's the medical director for the Columbus Division of Fire. I'd like to welcome you back. And you've been on the program a few times.
I have. I've had the privilege of being on the program in between these two gentlemen here. So.
Right. Well, maybe we might just switch you guys out sometimes, because when he comes on, the ratings are through the roof. It's like Dr. House is on the show. Right. All right. Well, and next to him, though, we have our other steadfast
the one that's here all the time.
The one that's here all the time.
Dependable, right?
Lieutenant Dave Sawyer of the Columbus Division of Fire.
Thank you for having me,
always
Director.
here and everywhere.
Yeah.
Making things happen throughout the city. So, first of all, let's start out with EMS Week, and that's why, Dr. David Kessick is here to talk about that. And, I guess there's a lot of great things that the Fire Division is doing.
That's right.
To honor this. But first of all, let me ask you, why is there an EMS Week?
Well, that's a great question. The reason that we have an EMS week is because how often do we really acknowledge the importance of our emergency medical services personnel? I mean, they're there when we need them. We don't think about that, but anytime we call 911, they'll show up in a matter of minutes, and who knows what they're going to be faced with. They could be faced with a cardiac arrest, a woman in labor, someone who can't breathe, and we kind of take that for granted in this country. So it's important that we take a week out and really highlight the importance of our emergency medical services personnel.
Okay, so and this is a national week.
It sure is, because of course EMS is all around the country in various forms, and the actual credo for EMS Week this year is EMS. It's more than a job; it's a calling.
And that's so true, because I've heard that so often, and not just in police or in fire, but also in police too. Because people talk about it takes a special person to be able to do what firefighters and police officers do because of what you have to go through. So something that some people just can't do.
Absolutely, that's right.
So definitely a calling.
A calling.
Now, through EMS Week, what happens here in Columbus? How do we? How does the fire department honor those who are doing it? But then also, how can the community get involved?
Well, the community can get involved whenever you see an EMS or fire personnel. Tell them thanks. Tell them thanks for what they do. Tell them thanks for just the dedication they show. And so that's one way the community can kind of help out. Stop by the firehouses and bring, cookies or things like that. Tell them, hey, we really appreciate what you do here. And so, because they just don't get enough acknowledgement of the tremendous impact they have on our community. But specifically for EMS Week here in Columbus, Lieutenant Sawyer and I are on a committee. We start planning at the end of every EMS Week for the next year. And so we've come up with some wonderful activities for this year. On Sunday, we had a great joint activity with COSI and Nationwide Children's Hospital called EMS and Safety Day. From 12 noon to 4, we highlighted preventing injuries and also doing CPR and other types of emergency preparedness. And it was great. They had a whole lot of people there. I don't know if we have any pictures of that, but it was a great event. We had Bike Town from the city of Columbus. We had an airbag deploy to show what happens to protect us. I mean, there were all kind of activities, and it was just wonderful. And it was our second annual event.
Oh, great. Cool. And I believe we have some pictures from last year's event because
Right.
we weren't there. So I don't know if they can get those queued up to show those. Oh, there they are there.
Okay, yeah. We're showing how to do CPR there in that picture, and showing some different heart arrhythmias. We actually had a little contest between two children to see how fast they could put on firefighter gear. That was a lot of fun. Councilmember Mills came over and gave some remarks. So it was a really great event to just kick off EMS week. And then, of course, on Monday, City Council gave us a resolution acknowledging EMS week. And then today, Lieutenant Sawyer was involved in an activity at Starling Middle School where they took 80 middle school children.
Correct.
And they taught them how to do CPR.
Wow.
And actually, over the course of our EMS week activities, we have trained, what, over 700?
At least 600 to 700 students.
Absolutely. And so that's been a great, benefit to the community to have all those kids who now are older, of course, know how to do CPR.
We've also provided them a CPR anytime kit, which is a kit that they can take home with them to teach their family how to do CPR also.
Now they're actually showing like an extraction.
Yeah,
out
they're
of a
doing like
vehicle?
an extrication, and that was a very popular event. And then we had the helicopter land, and so it was a really great day. And J.C. Nelson over at COSI helped to plan the whole event, so it really came together well. And tomorrow we have one of our signature events for the year, and we're really proud of this event. We bring back survivors from cardiac arrest.
Oh, okay.
People that were basically dead and brought back to life by our EMS personnel. We invite them to come to this event. Angela Pace is our Master of Ceremonies. You know, she does a great job.
Right.
Always
She
does a great job.
very well.
But these people, we bring them back and they're reunited with the EMS personnel who actually saved their life. And you talk about impact. They bring their husbands, wives, their sons, their daughters, their grandchildren. Everybody comes. They get up. They are able to speak about the whole impact of the EMS folks that helped to save their lives. And they get to see those folks, give them a hug, thank them. And so that really brings home the human, nature of the impact the EMS personnel have. I mean, saving a life so that you can enjoy your children, your grandchildren, go on living. We've got actually past survivors that come every year and just, to be reunited with other survivors too. So that's a wonderful event. We're really proud of that.
Oh, I'm sure, because you can't even imagine. I mean, I can't even get my arms around it. That if once you knew that you were gone.
Oh, absolutely.
But then this person who doesn't know you from Adam,
Yep.
saves your life and brings you back.
And most of the time, those folks never meet the people that saved them. So this event allows them to be reunited and have that, wonderful opportunity to say thank you. And the EMS personnel, they're big bad firemen, big and they're acting like it doesn't matter to them, but it does.
It touches
it
them.
really touches them.
I believe it. I can't imagine if there's the younger persons who were brought back.
Yes.
That brings you to
Absolutely.
tears.
Absolutely, it does. So it's great. So we really enjoy EMS Week because 80% of what we do within the fire department is EMS. Those are the EMS calls. So last year we had 137,000 EMS calls, and we had 23,000 fire calls. So you can see that the bulk of what we do in a vast majority of the cases is EMS.
And it's kind of like that in every fire department in the United States,
Absolutely.
too.
That's right.
Well, because I was reading in one of the articles that they said an estimated 240 million calls are made to 911 in the U.S. each year. These are approximately 1 million emergency runs for EMS in the state each year.
Wow.
So that is just incredible.
It is. And we're blessed here in the city of Columbus because we have a very robust system where every time you call 911, you're going to get a paramedic coming. We have paramedics on our engines, paramedics on our medics, and we have good coverage of the city, and they are trained in the most up-to-date techniques for life-saving. So, this city of Columbus is very, very blessed to have the, robust nature of our EMS system and the fact they can do so many things.
That's the common question that you have asked us several times is why the engine responds and the medic responds and things like that. And what the doctor was explaining to you helps that question out a great deal.
Definitely. So let me ask you this with EMS, and so what's the most common, I would say, run that EMS would get? So as far as, that they have to go out there and either save a life or what is the most common issue?
Statistically speaking, when we look back at our calls, the most common complaint we get is difficulty breathing. And that can be anywhere from asthma to choking to congestive heart failure to sometimes cardiac arrest. And you can imagine if you're the person who's having difficulty breathing, you want those people to come fast and you want them to correct the problem.
Right.
So that's really our most common call is difficulty breathing. We have a lot of chest pain calls. We have a significant amount of women in labor.
Oh, okay.
We unfortunately have had a lot of trauma here lately with some shootings and things like that, and we hate to see that. And so it just runs the gamut. They can be things like stubbing your toe or maybe a sprained ankle. And the thing is that a lot of times, you're going to the scene, sometimes what you're called on isn't quite what is actually, in fact, going on.
Okay.
So the EMS personnel have to switch gears and get their mind wrapped around the fact that, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what we had been, told was going on. And they have to be very flexible and fast on their feet.
Well, with all these calls, let me ask you this, and what's the average time, a response time on something like this? Because if we're going out, you talk about 240 million calls in the U.S. and 1 million, per state. So of all these calls, what's the average response time on
I think what our average response time is anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes, believe it or not. And that's, we have those engines available to do the advanced life support. So they can get out there and get someplace pretty fast. Our medic vehicles are the vehicles we transport patients to the hospital in. And again, we're really fortunate there because not only the arrival time, but the transport time is key to survival. And so normally we can get someone to a hospital within about 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that when you talked about that there's medics, not only on the fire engine, but in the medics, because if I'm hurt and I'm bleeding or whatever, I see the engine come, I'm like, well, wait a minute.
What are they doing here? Yeah, right.
Where's the medics at to help me out
Right,
here?
right. And
but you have one there.
all of our firefighters are trained as a basic EMT, so they can give basic first aid and a lot of other things too. So when you get that engine, you're getting at least one paramedic, and also all the rest of them are at least basic EMTs, so they can give care as well.
Okay, now, and you were going to say something?
I was going to say, really, when he was talking about the type of runs that we get, there's major medical emergencies and other emergencies that they respond to, like he was talking about bleeding or a broken leg and things like that.
Sure.
That's what I was going to also explain to you. And also, some of the most busiest EMS vehicles in the city is like Station 15 at Nelson and Livingston, Station 8 at Champion and Long, Station 10 on the west side, Station 18 in the Linden area, Station 24 on the Morris Road area. So we're very busy. Most of those EMS units are getting 20 runs a day or more. So that's almost a run every hour when you speak of the 1 million runs in the state or the 125,000 runs we have in the city of Columbus.
And some of those runs are very involved. I mean, they can take some time to stabilize the patient and get them to the hospital. And so, these EMS personnel, they're seeing all these things every day.
Right.
And so that's why it's important for our community to really congratulate them, recognize them, and celebrate them during EMS week.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and I got two questions actually. With all the things that they have to see and deal with, and the blood and everything else, the trauma and dealing with families, do we have a good amount of firefighters that deal with PTS, with post-traumatic stress? By going through all that, is that something that we're seeing more of, or how's that handled?
Well, we try to be really cognizant of the trauma that can sometimes occur with some of these cases, especially the ones like a child dying. That's really traumatic, especially for firefighters and EMS personnel who have kids. So when we see that, we're normally calling out to the station that very day, making sure that they don't need our critical stress debriefing team to go out and actually talk to them, or else, I'll call them, or one of the EMS lieutenants will call them, and just to make sure they're doing well. So we try to stay on top of that and to make sure that we don't have to, take care of a problem when it's gotten too far out of control.
Great. Well, and the other question I had, when we're talking about, transporting people. And I've heard this terminology of scoop and run. Is
Load and go.
Or load and go.
Load and go.
Scoop and run, load and go. What is
you
it?
also on extraction. It's not extraction. Okay.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't help. I just went to the dentist the other day.
Teaching.
Sounds painful.
Yeah. Load and go was the term. I'm sorry.
Okay, so load and go. What is that?
So,
What does that mean?
load and go is when you just arrive on the scene and you're just scooping that patient up onto your cot and just take them to the hospital. And that's what used to happen in the early days of EMS before we really developed advanced techniques to do things at the scene to take care of them. So there's another term called stay and play. Stay and play means that you stay on the scene and you're doing a lot of techniques and interventions right there at the scene. Here's the key. You need to have the right balance between load and go and stay and play. And so some of the interventions that you do at the scene really make a difference. Others don't. And we're learning more and more about that each and every day as far as the ones that really matter and the ones that don't. So time is of the essence, but at the same time, you need to do the critical interventions that really will save a life before you actually transport them to the hospital.
Okay. That's good to know. That is good to know, because you always wonder, when I heard about that scoop and run or scoop and go and all this, and I'm thinking, well, because you sometimes you relate to TV, and especially some of the war things, we're just grabbing up them and let's head out.
That's a good point.
Right.
That's what a lot of EMS was learning.
Right.
The
Well,
trauma.
and early EMS, who actually used to do early EMS were the funeral directors. So
Really?
they would go to the scene with their hearses, and they would basically pick the patient up, put him in the back of the hearse, and just go on to the hospital. There wasn't any treatment at the scene at all. It was really all that we had back then. But now, as you know, it's really evolved into a very sophisticated delivery system.
But even, you know what else the history of EMS is? The police paddy wagon used to pick people up and take them to the hospital, especially the women who were having babies and things. When they called, 911, which was not 911 at that time, that was in the 60s, I believe, or 50s. We called the police, and they would come. So we're kind of glad we took that job from them.
Well, I think you might like to do that again, wouldn't you?
Well, we moved on to more important civic duties.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Well, and two things I'm hearing, because first of all, it'd be kind of depressing to be hauled away in a hearse, first of all, and then I also know with police, and they actually haul away the dead bodies out of homicides and things, and fatalities. So both those things wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yes.
To be hauled away.
Right.
Bad thing.
Hauled away.
Right.
No doubt. Well, let me turn to because we've been talking about EMS and the week, and well, one other thing with EMS week, is there anything else planned for the rest of the week? And maybe you touched on it, and I just missed it.
We have one other event that's going to actually again be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It's kind of an interesting event. We decided to put together something called a Surgical Emergency Response Team, or it's CERT for short. And so there's those very infrequent episodes where you have someone that's trapped in a machine, or maybe has a very horrific injury that they need blood, and our EMS folks need to have a surgeon right there at the scene to take care of them. So we put together agreements with Grant and OSU, and we have them on call in case we have an episode where someone's entrapped, they need an emergency amputation at the scene, or something like that. So tomorrow, we're going to do a field exercise where we set up a situation at Worthington Industries with an entrapment, and we deploy our CERT team, and we'll just see how it all works. So we kind of put in the call, we activate the CERT team at the hospital, we transport them to the scene. Of course, we're using a mannequin, for the entrapment. We don't use recruit firefighters for that. So.
Yeah. Or police officers.
Yeah, that's right.
They're the ones that usually trapped.
Just ask us to volunteer.
And they go through the motions of actually doing their procedure at the scene, and then we take them to the hospital. So what we're doing is we're getting ready in case we really have an event that requires a surgical intervention, out in the field. And so we try to stay sharp by practicing that a couple times a year. And tomorrow we'll be doing our exercise at Worthington Industries to see how that goes.
Excellent.
Can I ask the doctor? Can you talk about the tactical EMS team?
Yes.
And then also talk about maybe the future collaboration that you and I were discussing with OSU's sports athletic department.
Yeah. Sure. So the tactical EMS team is a team of paramedics that actually go with SWAT on all their calls. And so they're specially trained to take care of penetrating trauma for if the police would suffer it. And just the other day we had one where one of the police officers accidentally, their weapon discharged and it went through their leg. And according to Chief Kozer, who's the one that put the team together and kind of oversees it, he said our folks were on that guy right away. They had tourniquets, they took care of the bleeding, they had IVs started. And so this is to prevent an unnecessary death in one of our police officers doing a very dangerous task like with SWAT. So we've been doing that now for a couple of years.
Okay.
And it's worked out real well. I think there's a great camaraderie between SWAT and the Thames unit. And I think SWAT's real happy they're there. And, and it's just another way we can serve, our brothers in arms, so to speak.
Amen.
And make sure that they're safe and taken care of. And then as far as the OSU thing, the athletic trainer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're talking to Ohio State University with their athletic trainers, because a lot of times at the football games, the athletic trainers are there, EMS is there. Sometimes, they'll go on the field, sometimes we'll go on the field, and we're just working to in collaboration to make sure that we're all on the same page and they're working off the same sheet music, so to speak, so that we're not, kind of stepping over each other, but we're actually helping each other. And so we're looking forward to that collaboration as far as EMS training with them too.
Totally, and I can definitely see it because, if something happens out there, you don't want to be,
fumbling around.
Right. And who would have the? I guess you want to ask. Who's in charge? Is when EMS comes out there, are they in charge, or how does that work?
When an emergency happens, EMS is in charge.
Okay.
But of course, we want to make sure that we incorporate what the athletic trainers can do well and use them as part of the team. Right. But if there's going to be a life threatening emergency, then EMS will definitely be the ones that are kind of calling the shots.
Speaking of calling the shots, I want to make sure we give our audience to call the shots and give us a call at 645-6557, 645-6557. We're talking about EMS week, and we were talking about response times, and the one thing that I guess a way that you could say thank you to somebody in EMS in regards to when an EMS truck is coming down the street or a fire truck, to pull over.
Yeah, get out of the way. That's right.
Because I think all too often, people will either be in the way and continue to drive, and or try to trail the emergency medical service. Yeah, get a drag. Because we talk about the response time. We're talking about getting there, within 4 to 6 minutes to make that happen. And so if people are always in the way, that will be, hamper that even more often. And you talk about, it's not just the shootings, but the better percentage is people are having trouble breathing, etc., which people could be dying when you're going on these runs.
Absolutely, and we don't want those people to die, and we don't want our EMS firefighter personnel to die either. So we don't.
The motoring public.
Or the motor. That's right. That's right.
Those
And
fire trucks.
yeah, I mean there
Big
are
vehicles.
some very tragic accidents that can occur. So. Yeah, it's always, a good idea to make sure that you can hear those sirens, you get out of the way, and allow them to, be able to get through.
One thing I was thinking about the vehicles and the fire trucks, and a buddy of mine was talking about that you really don't understand how heavy these fire trucks are, but also the water that they're carrying.
That's right.
So when you're going down the road and this water's sloshing back and forth, when you're trying to stop, you're feeling that water slosh back and forth, so even make it even that much more unstable, even though they've got, I'm sure, the greatest brakes ever. But, people understand that stopping this that's necessary, et cetera, when you think your little car jetting over in front of them.
Absolutely right. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, definitely make sure you're safe. Yeah, and pay attention.
Take the earphones out, which are illegal.
Right.
Get off the phone.
Right.
We might
I got a question about that.
some riding time. We're going to have to see if we can get you on the truck. We're going to have to ask the chief
Hey,
if we can let you ride with
there
us
you
one
go.
time.
I'm ready to suit up.
But you
I
have
can
to
do it.
stay all night. I don't want you to go over there for 1 hour and, chicken out and go home.
Well, wait,
No, I
so-
need you to spend like a Friday night in the firehouse.
So Friday night, so let's see, I'll stay the movie, I'll eat chili. I can see what's going to happen, right?
Okay. So
Okay.
guess where we're going to put him? Guess we're going to put him smart Alex. Guess where we're going to put him?
It's a good time.
Well, that brings me to a question, because you brought up a good question here, Chief, and in regards to the headphones.
Right.
Because, and we always get questions off the internet and people writing in on the Facebook, but the phones nowadays, they've got the dual headset. Matter of fact, I have
Like
one.
you, yeah.
I have one. Is it illegal to have both of them in your ears, but it's not for radio, not for music, but it's for the phone?
It is.
It is.
It is illegal to have,
Both of them in.
right, the dual
Okay.
headsets in
So
your
you've got to have at least one out.
Right.
Okay, because I always wondered about, because you see it happening and they're saying, well, hey, I'm hands free, but actually you're preventing yourself from hearing emergency vehicles.
Right, and the cars are more soundproof these days. People have music on, the air conditioning, it's hot, the windows are up.
And you're not paying attention normally anyway for some of the things.
And that big
that's
fire
going on.
truck or police cruiser is coming, and we need to get there quickly.
Right.
So we need you to yield, not stop right in front of us.
Right.
You just said the fire truck has a hard time getting that big truck stopped, so pull to the right safely and stop. And then
Okay.
stay 500 feet behind
Right.
or more.
Or more.
Right.
Right. Don't trail him, because
Thanks,
he's.
Chief.
To try to make it through every light.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Because that does happen too.
It does.
And
a lot.
sometimes, and that's illegal.
It
to,
is.
to continue to follow an emergency vehicle to be able to get through the lights.
Right.
Okay. Well, while we're on questions, because I have another one for you. While we're on questions that came in off the internet, one of which is come from Rob. He says, why is it illegal to have a marijuana pipe in your car when they sell them in stores?
Well, I think what he's alluding to is it's illegal when there is drug residue present on the pipe. So if it's been used, that makes it
Okay.
illegal.
That makes it
because
illegal.
then the substance that's illegal is on it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So then it's considered drug paraphernalia.
Okay. All right. Because he was wondering, he's like, I guess it's, he can go out and buy it, but he can't use it.
Right. Just like you
well,
can get your windows tinted, and that's illegal too.
Exactly. Because, and that brings me to another equipment thing. There's been the talk about, and let me know, the question about the blue lights. Right. A lot of kids and young people have those blue lights underneath their vehicle.
Right.
Is that okay for them to have?
No. Blue lights are illegal anywhere within the city of Columbus.
Okay.
In fact, I believe it's a state law. It is state law. No
Okay.
blue lights. In fact, OSP now uses blue lights only on most of their cruisers.
I saw that.
Right,
I saw
because
that.
blue light is visible at a further distance than red.
Wow. Okay.
So blue lights are absolutely illegal anywhere on the vehicle. Red lights are illegal anywhere on the front of any vehicle.
Okay. So what about underneath? If they have
Underneath
the
for
red.
red is not illegal. Anywhere
Okay.
in the front is illegal, but blue anywhere is illegal.
Okay.
And we've had a lot of instances just recently with police impersonators and so forth. And the lighting issue is one of those mechanisms that people that want to do things in an illegal manner, they have police lights that fool people at night.
Wow.
So that's why we pay very close attention to cars that have blue and red lights that are visible from the front.
Okay. One last thing, because I know we're running out of time. In regards to blue lights, and somebody's trying to, flash in blue lights, what should, or if there's somebody trying to pull you over and you're not sure about whether it's a police officer, what should somebody do?
You can always call 911, give them your location. The dispatcher will know what officer that is. And at night, you can always pull to an area where other people are.
Okay.
I would not suggest getting in a pursuit
Okay.
and high-speed drive away
Right.
from the cruiser because you don't think it is an officer, but certainly a single female, someone that was overly cautious, could pull somewhere where there would be other people
Okay. Good deal.
for safety.
One last question for Dr. Kessick. With EMS Week, if the community wants to get involved or more involved, and not just for a week, because we think that we should honor our firefighters year round. How do you see that community could get more involved, or even make that phone call? Says, hey, you know what, you guys did a great job. Is there a number that they can call, or somebody get
Can
involved?
they go to our website if they want to, the Columbus Fire website? If they want
To write a letter of thank you?
Yeah.
I think they can go to the website, but they can send a letter to the fire chief, or they can call our office 645-7377, and I'll be glad to handle that. Thank you for them.
Okay, and get it to the proper
Proper channels and the proper firefighters that need to know.
We love to get those letters.
We love to
because
get letters, yes.
we send them out to everyone involved in the run, and make sure we have awards where we give out awards every year for distinguished service.
Okay.
So yeah, we like to recognize the great jobs that all of our folks do. But one of the things our community can do that really would help us out is to learn how to do CPR.
Amen.
Okay.
If they just learn how to do CPR, we would double the cardiac arrest survival rate in this community.
Wow.
Yep.
That's huge then.
Where can you take your family to learn?
You can get online, American Heart Association, just Google that, American Red Cross. There's all kind of courses, and now there's compression-only CPR where they don't even recommend mouth-to-mouth. So it was just like today at the school. I mean, that you could learn it in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, and
Wow.
they can call our office
Okay.
for that. We can teach you friends and family CPR, and there's no charge for that, but also the Division of Fire for some people who want to be certified in CPR. You can call 221-3132, extension 5310, and the lieutenant will teach you CPR there. I think it's $20 too
Yeah,
for
it's
2
really
hours.
cheap. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any liability for people?
You know what? It's getting to the point now where there's probably more liability if you don't know how. I mean, it's really,
Right.
I mean,
Well,
you're
true.
just standing
You didn't help
around,
me.
and it's so simple to do. I mean, you're basically just pressing on the chest. I mean, there's no excuse unless you're disabled or something that you just can't do CPR in that event.
I know we're
Great.
running out of time.
Yeah.
Please go to www.acep.org and search engine EMS Week, and it'll tell you what more things the community can do.
Excellent.
There you go.
Saving lives out there. Our EMS, we want to make sure we hold our EMS up and thank them for the job that they are doing each and every day for the citizens of Columbus. And so thank you, Dr. Keswick, for
thank you,
being
Doctor.
being on the
You're very
program.
welcome. Happy to do so.
And we will be back on our second segment soon after these words and talking about the Citizens Police Academy. And we have one young lady here who's going to talk about her experience that she's currently in the Citizens Police Academy, about how she's doing and where she sees herself going from here, right after these words.